Well, good morning. Welcome to King's Outdoor Life. We're here on site today to finish up this wheelchair ramp project. I hope you saw my first video. I think it's going to be too long to be in one video. We're going to split it into two videos. So I hope you watch part one. This should be part two of showing you the install here. And the first thing I'll do is kind of show you the before, right? And then you'll see what we're going to work on, and we'll go from there. So this is the front entry, and we need to go here. It's 22 inches of rise there from the door to the floor. So we needed 22 feet of run to accomplish that 22 inches of vertical drop. The garage is only 20 feet, so we could not accomplish it. So we're going to put a landing in this corner and then come out this way 8 feet. So we've got everything ready to go here this morning. I'm going to unload the trailer and we'll be ready to start setting up once my help gets here. I'll show you the way I do everything. Is everything loaded on the trailer. My platforms are built. There's the ramp portion here for that last section. Got my saws, air compressor, and this I call my travel box here is full of all the different things we need for these little projects. Screws, screw guns, and I got a little container back there tucked in there with all my different actual screws. So everything we need should be here, but that is not always the case. So always get these done on a Saturday morning. That way we can run to the hardware store if necessary. All right, we're going to set up a time lapse. Hopefully today that will work, and then we'll get some footage as we go putting this thing together. Thanks for tuning in. Click like, subscribe, and share with a friend. All right, so if you watched the first video, you saw we built this landing already in my barn, and we also built this short ramp in the barn. Then this post goes here, and that post goes here. So all this was done ahead of time in our own controlled environment in the barn. I like doing that because I get here, I'm already way ahead of the game. We've stacked all our 40-inch pieces right here. They'll go on that long ramp there. These 48, actually those are 51s. They go on that landing there. The next thing we did, we're gonna go on the outside of that. Next thing we did is we built this landing already ahead of time. Hopefully you saw that. And this is now set in place. I cut a 4x4 to go in the floor here. Ran 3 screws on the outside. Didn't tighten those screws up until we made sure it was level this way. Once it was level that way, then we took an extra piece we had here and put it in place there to carry the load on this middle step. And now we've cut a 4x4 here to go on this outside. We're gonna make sure we've got our 40 inches right here, and then we'll run our stringers from this piece down to that piece, and we'll be on our way. So we got our measurement here, but rather than marking a square line, what we need to do is, we know this is a 1 in 12 pitch. It drops 1 inch for every foot. So we're set on our speed square. We'll bring this mark right here to the 1 in 12 pitch, and we'll mark it like so. So we've already got this one marked. We've got this one marked. These guys are putting this one in place. We're inside of a garage, and we had a little decorative lip there, so we just came inside of that decorative lip all the way down. So up here at the door, what Mark's doing is cutting around the trim work so we can move that as tight as we can up in that corner. What I'm doing is I'm taking all our scrap and putting in these verticals just to provide more stability. So any of these scrap 2x8s, 2x4s, I put these in as bracing, and we won't have 20 pounds of scrap lumber on this job, because anything that's scrap I'll put in as bracing, and also just using the right measurements to start with. And then I got these guys going ahead and decking.
You want this edge to edge,
this
right?
corner. Yeah, I think edge to edge here, and that way
the other one will butt up
that it'll butt right up against it. And this will be on an angle, but it's not enough of an angle. It should pitch in pretty good. Is this already attached? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're gonna have to redo this, because this should come up to there in that corner over there. So in a sense of that deck board run even. That the concrete's out of level over there. So we can't run this to the floor, we'll have to bring that up to there. And then run the waste under the trim over there, right there, okay?
And then screwed in where she is.
Looking good here. We pre-cut that angle so it's already ready. All these are good to go here. Now it's a matter of running deck screws. Why are you wearing gloves, Dixon? So you don't bleed like me? I'm bleeding here.
Probably.
I'm bleeding here. Smart guys wear gloves. Oh, what you got? All right, so real quick, we're gonna look at these. I've got these all turned the right direction. Well, how do you know they're turned the right direction? You wanna look at the crown and you wanna make sure that the way the tree was growing, this wood is gonna wanna cup. So you wanna make sure you got all these grains turned the right way. If you ever go on somebody's deck and the edges are puckering, it's because they turned it upside down. This is the center of the tree. There's not much, that one can really go either way. I'm gonna turn it. I like it better the other way. And sometimes you have to look at both ends to get that right. I stamped that one with blood. And these over here, these are like almost quarter sewn. They're hard to tell, but I gotta look and find that end grain there to turn this side up on that one. So in the middle here, we'll have a vertical 4x4 going up like this. I pulled a 7-foot mark off this end down here to the center because we have 14 feet of run here. So this vertical mark now is where we want to go. I marked the mark straight, but that mark's not plumb. We'll put a plumb on there to make sure it's plumb to the floor that way. So this is going to be 36 inches above my rail. So we've got 14 and 3/8 there. Plus 1 is 15 and 3/8 plus 36. Go ahead and cut that handrail. So here's our middle handrail piece. Now this comes straight to here. Usually I like to go all the way to the wall. They have this handrail already here in place. I'm kind of wondering how I may put some sort of extension on this. I may put another 4x4 in here to give me an extension there. But this goes all the way down, follows the slope of the ramp to the top of this one. And then I cut 45s here to put in the rail down there, down low and up high. And again, they're decking these all the way out here. And then we'll start decking this ramp and we're good to go. On the last board that goes on the ground, there's always a steep bump if you just go on the 1 inch side, because you basically go from 0 to 1 inch immediately. What I did here on this one, I'll turn it down like this way, you can see it better. I cut a 45, and I took my bandsaw and cut off that corner. And then I took my sander and sanded to make a nice rounded edge and make it easier for the wheelchair to make that hump. So this goes here on the end, and we'll screw it down. And they're coming down from this way, and we'll rip one in the middle to make sure it all fits together. So we're to the finished product here. Everything came together nicely. We got a handrail on this side attached to the 4x4s. And on this side, since we're inside a garage, I like to put a true handrail like you see on a set of stairs. And we have the landing here, and we had to go a little lower on this one to dodge this plug. And we had to do some interesting craftsmanship here to go around this plug. We had to get the stud was so close there, we had to get around that. But all the way up through here, we're on this 1 and 12. It was all the way up. We got the landing here at the door before we go in. So basically 2 screws for every board, and we screwed it all down. And I'm going to show you one thing here we typically don't do. And I don't recommend this, but you can see here, Mr. Bill wanted to go in and scurry through this little gap here, and he had him a little step ladder, and we saw that was going to be a problem. So we quickly built him a little makeshift set of steps so he can just step up and skirt this gap, and when he's in a hurry, because he gets in a hurry sometimes. All right, so that's a wrap for this one. I'll show you the 45s on the corner. We did inside and outside on this one, just, I don't know, just because we had scrap lumber and I'm gonna use it. And then again, we got the handrail over on this side, handrail on that side. And it all come together nicely. And then I'll show you this one last time.
This board I mitered here on the corner because when you're rolling up with a wheelchair ramp, it's hard to get up that 1-inch gap there. All right, that's a wrap on this one.
So here's the time lapse of our morning, and I apologize for the grainy footage. We had the GoPro Hero 7 that I always use. Thank you, Stuart, for letting me borrow your GoPro. Anyway, I had it doing the little shots in between, but I wanted to have an extra camera set up over here in the corner, just rolling on a time-lapse all day. Well, it turned out it wasn't on time-lapse mode. It was on regular video mode. So we had 40 gig of video that we had to basically, I don't know how you say, you trim it down, speed it forward, and then resave it. And when we resaved it, we lost a lot of our clarity there. So I apologize for the grainy time lapse, but it was worth it. This is a great time lapse here of what took us, I guess, 3 hours, just over 3 hours, really about 2 hours and 45 minutes. And then we did the cleanup, and then we decided to build that extra little set of steps for Mr. Bill to go through. Again, we didn't want to do that. Mark was really against it because he's a nurse. He was afraid he would fall on that little makeshift set of steps. But what I saw was he did not want to keep walking all the way around, and he kept shooting that little gap there on his little aluminum stairs, or aluminum step ladder, I should say. So anyway, I felt like us building a set of steps that was fixed was a much safer option than him skirting that gap. What we may do is come back later and take his little shelf down. That shelf he set up, he's quite an ingenious young man. He set up that shelf as a staging area during this COVID-19 in order to, keep his hand sanitizer, his Clorox wipes, and his, all those other necessities there, paper towels as you saw. He set that up on that little rail. And we told him we may come back later, take that rail down, take the handrail down, and make sure we put him a good set of steps with a set of handrails over there. The idea is this is temporary. His wife was in a car accident and broke her arm and leg a couple of weeks ago. So the idea is this is temporary, and we used all screws for everything so we can take it up as soon as she gets well enough and she doesn't need it. So that's our goal. We hope that happens real soon. So I'll let you watch here, maybe put on a little music, and maybe interject a few things here or there. I will say total time before I go to music. Total time here again this morning, 2 hours and 45 minutes. But if you watch part one, I try to do a lot of the pre-cuts ahead of time. So I would say I spent 2 hours, 2.5 hours in my barn putting everything together, maybe 3 hours total. And then that way all the layout is done. Pretty much all the common cuts are done. You're basically just assembling the puzzle once you get here on site. In this case, being that it's in a garage, there weren't as many surprises. It's almost level concrete floor. There were no holes to dig. We weren't in the mud. But so that makes it go faster, and also you're not waiting on concrete to dry. Anytime we do these in the yard, we dig holes, set the concrete, and go that route. It takes much longer for obvious reasons. So here, the only problem with putting on concrete is when you get to that short ramp without a lot of place to put the vertical 4x4 to the floor, there's not a lot of meat on that ramp to screw to, so you get a little bit of play back and forth on the handrail. But I'm glad we got the good handrail on the wall here, so we can use like a stair handrail in order to give them really good handrail to go up and down the ramp as needed, because I think they'll be using this as not only just a wheelchair ramp, but as a true ramp to walk up. This is a ministry provided by our Sunday school class and our church. I've had, I don't know, multiple people contact me over the years to build these, anything from simple to complex, and we've even built some steps for people in order to get in their house. So we don't charge anybody to do this. We try to get the people who can't afford the materials buy their own materials. Some people we've had to get materials donated, and we've all chipped in and bought materials along the way. I can't tell you how many exactly we've done of these, but I will say this: the more you do, the easier they get, because you kind of get your pattern and your how you want to go about doing things in place.
So the more of these you do, the better you'll get at it. But I will say you'll still make errors, like I did on that large landing in the corner by putting my boards inside versus outside, or outside versus inside. I come out with 51 inches on my decking instead of 48 inches on my decking. So, as many times you do anything, you'll still make mistakes. One thing I say is, don't ever quit making mistakes, because that means you've quit trying at all. All right, I'm gonna quit talking, let you watch, and maybe we'll find some good music here. Well, I don't think anybody could have enjoyed this time lapse as much as I have, because it gives me a great idea of how these things come together, and also how I'm the one in the gray shirt bouncing from one place to the next, to the saw, back to the front, back to the saw, to the back to the saw, to the trailer, back and forth, checking on everybody, making sure everything gets done. But most of all, I just love working with this group of guys, and they are great to work with. It's at this point we thought the battery on the extra camera was dead. Come to find out, since it was recording regular speed video, the storage was full. So I switched to my iPhone time-lapse here for the last little bit, as we were having to figure out exactly where to put that stair handrail along the wall, dodging the plugs, trying to keep it at a good height. 36 inches is code. We want to make sure that was good height. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, and share this with a friend.